Humanity is grafted to the rest of nature.
This is kind of messy, isn't it?
The horticulture therapy works as a tool to engage people.
If you have someone who's not feeling very well, have them digging and working in the field.
It's real therapy to trying to help these guys out.
I spent some time with a Zen monk in Yokohama, and he's designed gardens for, like the Canadian Embassy in Tokyo. And the one thing that we really got to is this one word called people. Because as a gardener, the one thing you don't really think about, or a designer, is you don't think about people. But without the people, why do the garden? It's not about the plants, it's actually more about how people interact with that environment.
We age and we change, and none of us knows what challenges life will bring. But we do know that plants and gardens can help us with the quality of our lives, no matter what happens to us.
Here we are at the Inazo Natobe Memorial Garden at the Royal Jubilee Hospital. The garden was really created for its therapeutic capabilities. It's a passive therapeutic garden. There's not actually any horticultural therapy activities happening here. It's a place where family members can take their loved one who is feeling really isolated in a hospital. I mean, nobody wants to come to a hospital. This unfamiliarity, the machinery that you're hooked up to. So people come into the gardens here as kind of a way of connecting to nature. It's restorative, it's relaxing. The sound of the water, the breeze on your skin. How it works therapeutically on people is that when you are stuck in a bed, your choices are very limited. But when you come into this garden, you're making choices. Shall I go this way? Do I want to be in the sun? Do I want to be in the shade? Or do I want to walk with a friend? It's also, taking yourself away from your pain and suffering. So you get these forms and shapes and textures that are also an important part of the therapeutic values and also the reflection of a Japanese garden.
At Saanich Peninsula Hospital, multiple gardens exist for the sole use of their patients. Their garden box program is very popular.
That's cute, the way they got all the flags on that one.
Oh, yes,
That's why
yeah.
I figured I'd get you some flags.
Yeah, I was going to put
Yeah.
one on either side of the antirrhinums.
Individuals that partake in the Garden Box program, the individual is engaging with the family member, they're engaging with staff, they're engaging with a group of people because of their gardening role. They get a lot of accolades. We have people that walk through the garden and are just amazed at what the Garden Box participants are creating. There's the physical benefits, so we're being active, we're activating and stimulating our bodies, there's movement involved. There's the planning aspects of that, so planning to get out to the garden, what are the tools that I need.
As a person who has always had a garden, I feel very privileged to have a box that I can treat like a garden.
Individuals are coming here who are experiencing a number of losses, either loss of function, loss of independence, loss of loved ones, caregivers. Their whole community is now changed. So if we can work with that individual in participating in something that's meaningful and engaging, then I'd like to believe that we're doing our job.
And Mother always said that you can spend a lot of time cooking and it all gets eaten. You can spend a lot of time cleaning and it all gets dirty and messy again. But in a garden, you can spend a lot of time and effort and you can have pleasure out of it. You get to enjoy the fruits of your labors a great deal more in a garden than you do anywhere else.
I was not happy about coming here, but now that I'm here, and it's wonderful. I think this is a great place.
You know, they have a responsibility to tend to their garden box, because if they don't, those plants aren't going to survive. What we see is when people are engaged in something meaningful, you know, we're going to see that people are taking less medications. They're engaged more in their life. They're engaged more with their families. They're engaged more in other activities. So there is certainly a carryover effect when you have someone engaged in something meaningful.
Providence in Duncan, BC is a garden sanctuary, a place that germinates healing caused by the trauma of the mind.
This is kind of messy, isn't it? Do you have gloves?
Well, I'm Cindy Ross, and I'm a registered horticultural therapist, presently working at Providence Farm. We have 400 acres that we can offer opportunities for people to experience different aspects of farming and horticulture.
I guess all these brown tips, when they're watered from the top up and then they get dried, it's not a good idea. Especially tomatoes, they should be watered in the ground, you know.
Our program is all about engaging seniors that are dealing with depression to Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and sometimes just plain isolation. The horticulture therapy works as a tool to engage people.
If you have someone who is not feeling very well, take them to the land and have them digging and working in the field, and they will start to feel much, much better. And that's what this place is about.
We try and serve people that aren't served elsewhere.
I have macular degeneration like Joan, but they caught mine in time. So I grow a lot of kale because that's very good for your eyesight.
When people become depressed, there's often a feeling of hopelessness. You can spin it to a positive when there's something else that needs care other than you. Plants, there's a good chance that you're going to see something physical happen from your efforts and recognize that as a success.
Barney Smith, an engineer in Victoria, discovered bonsai later in life. The care and thought he gives to his trees bring him joy and calm.
After all of the trials and efforts that you go through in either life or business or whatever it was, engineering and design, and finally come up with something that's certainly rewarding in that the gifts you get from having something else do well in your care and attention is rewarding and therapeutic. Like all things in life, a prickly situation here with a monkey tail tree. If you clip him in the right places, he'll grow the way you want to. But as friendly as it is, It's kind of like a pet porcupine. You can't go too close.
Shinrin-yoku is defined by the Japanese as to bathe in the atmosphere of the forest. Trees are releasing chemicals that are ingested by us through our lungs and through our nervous system that actually affect cortisol levels, which then lowers the risk of heart disease, cancers, and other stressful kind of events that happen to the human brain. I was working in horticultural therapy and in the healthcare industry. It really kind of showed to me that, you know, we segregate different groups in the populations of the society. You know, there's kids at schools, we've got universities, we've got people where they go to work, and then we've got nursing homes and warehousing of the elderly. That community gets broken up through that. The planet is a garden. We're all gardeners, one way or the other. Even if you're an accountant or lawyer, you are part of this culture that is sustaining itself on this planet Earth, right? And I call it a plant-orientated planet, right? It takes the light from the sun. It creates the food sources for our brains to exist. You've looked at like climbing the Rockies. You can still get the same therapeutic benefits and healing benefits in an urban setting with green spaces. We have these archetypes of the emotional landscape. So there's a vase in here. It's about maybe 3 feet deep. And then around this, you can see it's very precisely made stonework that then echoes around the vase itself. The water is not strategically going over the hole. That's running too fast, but I can hear it if you... That amplifies the sound.
Gardening is therapeutic in the way we allow ourselves to focus and meditate. We're alone with our thoughts and we begin to remember our lives.
I was keeping in contact with a school friend of mine in England, and all of a sudden, you know, she doesn't seem to be there anymore. From when I was 10, I lived in Clevedon, Somerset, and that's where, and she was on the outskirts. Her father was a soldier from the First World War. If they wanted to farm, they were given, you know, an acreage. So she was still living there. And here I am, nearly 94. I guess when it's my age, people die. I didn't start gardening until after I retired from nursing, really. In training, we had forces from D-Day. They arrived with just their uniforms and airmen that came down in flames and all that sort of thing. And we had a lot of burns.
Memories hold the stories of pain and love that shape who we are as people. As gardeners, the pain of the cramps in our hands, the joy of a fruitful harvest that helps us reflect positively on who we are. Planting a garden gives us the opportunity to showcase the beautiful world we created. It begins with selecting plants we choose to present and ends with a therapeutic sense of joy from our creation.
Yep. Make sure she's decent. They can, but I don't think they're the right look for what we're trying to achieve. So this is the Calabretia. I've never learned its name. I just always refer to it as the white stuff. this stuff. I prefer to get the 6-packs just because you get more bang for your buck. Because it's very vigorous. It spreads really nicely. It will hang.
Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, said that healing is a matter of time, but it's also a matter of opportunity. We have grown out of the earth. We have come from the soil. Having the opportunity to connect with nature. You can plant the seed and the root starts coming out. Things become activated more and they start, literally start growing. It's a sign of hope. I think everybody feels a little bit upbeat, and all this life comes from it. Humanity is grafted to the rest of nature. When it's your own journey and your own path that you're taking, and you're starting to make those connections to it, it's very fulfilling. And if you tap into that, you don't feel so lonely. And it's self-care for them. They're getting healthy by being in those environments. It's feeling this strong connection and being able to transform people's lives because of the deterioration of their health. To go out into the garden and watch familiar things and be able to talk about other things than just illness.
Well, I'll trade you. I'll take those away.
Will you?
And put them in the sink inside.
Okay.
And we can clean them later. And then, so we've got 2 varieties here. We've got this Gina Romano, which is the green one.
Oh, is that bush?
Yes, they're both bush.
Oh,
yeah. And this is called Dragon Tongue. You've got some wild stories. You better keep them to yourself. Some people just find it comforting to be in the building itself, never mind any of the activities or relationships that they have. They just like being there. When you ask me why horticulture is a really valuable tool, it's because there's so many aspects to it. There's a wide range of opportunities to tap into people's abilities through horticulture.
We don't want this too high, but it follows the lines, a nice apex, and it comes down in this way. When you're looking at it, the apex, down, so it slopes. They're stationary, that's what they live with. But on the other hand, they're really dynamic in terms of what they're doing just to survive and live. And it helps you forget some of the catastrophes that you meet in life, lost relationships, or something's happened that either business or your career that doesn't work out. You get a lot of positive feedback from trying to help these guys out. It's real therapy to contribute in a fashion that helps out another life form. And this is a lot nicer way to recover from bad things that happen to the way we grow. Like all things in art, you could be a bit creative and work with the tree who's just trying to live his life and help things along and make it look good. And you could feel good about creating something.
With the weather starting to warm up, there's more light during the evenings, so there's more opportunities to re-engage back with nature. From a therapeutic viewpoint, you know, green is in the middle of the spectrum. As far as the color, it's harmonic, it's very relaxing. As a therapist, there's that sense of balance and restorativeness to seeing green. Sound, fragrance, taste, movement of air across your skin. As an artist, as a therapist, wow, what a canvas. And there's not so much other therapies that could do all that.